Last week, we talked about conservation of risk. When risk changes, it changes incentives, and that reshapes the market. So risk never goes away, it migrates. Well, another risk that traders try to hedge is time decay. But is time something that can be hedged? You bought the time, why are you complaining? Time is what keeps everything from happening at once. The future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. Risk is what ensures time doesn't happen evenly. There are great quotes about time, but no matter how you think about time, options traders have a strange relationship with it. They buy time, watch it pass, and then resent it for doing exactly what it was designed to do. One of the big benefits of options is that they allow you to hedge risk or speculate over a given time. Time is money, so if you're going to rent a block of time, you're going to pay. No surprises there, at least there shouldn't be. A portion of the option's premium is simply due to the amount of time remaining, so as time passes, the option loses some value. The amount that the option loses per day is tracked by the Greek letter theta, which is nothing more than the price for a block of time. Because they give it a name, suddenly it becomes radioactive, okay to look at, deadly to hold. Fearing it is like buying a concert ticket and then complaining that the music's about to stop. Why is there such a fear over theta? Theta shouldn't be a surprise, as nearly everything loses value over time. But traders fear it so much that they spend much of their time trying to hedge theta. If there's one concept that causes more confusion than anything else, and more bad decisions, it's the effect of time. Traders talk about hedging time the way people talk about Bigfoot. Lots of sightings, plenty of stories, and never a verified footprint. Still, traders come up with all kinds of ways to hedge time, but if you try, you're going to have some trouble. You're going to need to live somewhere between a working DeLorean and a flux capacitor. A hedge can only exist when there's uncertainty about an outcome. You can hedge the risk of your house burning down, a car crash, or your luggage getting lost on a flight. With today's ridiculous insurance offers, you can even insure a $6 USB charging cable with a $19 extended warranty. Great, you've insured the cable against the future in which it becomes a cable. Or a $9 phone case with accidental damage protection. The case exists to protect the phone, but now you can protect the protector. The point is that for a fee, you can find someone willing to insure those risks because they're uncertain. So you can hedge stock prices because they move in uncertain ways. You can hedge volatility because it rises and falls with no predictable pattern. No matter what you're insuring, uncertainty is always hedged at a discount. If you want to insure your $500,000 house from fire, an annual policy won't cost anywhere near that value. Time is different. It moves in one direction at the same speed. So in 30 days, you can be 100% sure that 30 days will pass. You can't hedge certainty. If I'm sure my options position will lose $100 in 1 week, how much will that cost to insure? If I pay less than $100, it's guaranteed money for me and a guaranteed loss for the seller. If I pay more, it's a guaranteed loss for me and a guaranteed gain for the seller. The only price we could ever agree on is $100. However, that means I pay $100 today to receive $100 in a week. So what's the point? I'd just be paying up front for a known loss in the future. Trying to hedge time will never work because we know the size of the loss and exactly when it will happen. Certainty can't be hedged at a discount. So why do traders get bent out of shape when they buy an option that has time value? If you buy an option, you bought a block of time that hedges a lot of uncertain price risk. Theta is not a penalty or a hidden tax. Theta is your receipt that the contract is being used. With a little thought, you should see that theta is nothing to be feared. Still, you'll hear traders talk about ways to hedge theta as if it's the missing link to options trading. Calendar spreads to the rescue. A common hedge against a long option is to sell a shorter-term option with the same strike, a calendar spread. For instance, you may buy a 90-day $100 call and sell a 30-day $100 call. The idea is that the short call will decay faster than the long call, so it pays for the time decay on your long call. It may sound like a good idea, but the belief that time can be hedged using a different expiration is a common error. Selling a short-term option doesn't hedge time. The reason is that each option lives on its own calendar clock. When 30 days pass, it passes for both contracts. It didn't negate the effect of time passing on the long call. After 30 days, the long call is now a 60-day call. Both clocks advanced. No time was hedged. All of the Greeks are exactly the same with 60 days to expiration, whether you sold a call or not. But what about the money that changed hands when you sold the call? Didn't that hedge time? No, because only money changed hands. It never hedged the risk of the long call. Matching cash flows is not hedging. A hedge must cancel or offset the effect of a risk, not just produce cash flow while the risk occurs. If time passes for both legs, time wasn't hedged. All you did was redistribute value. Why can't you say that the cash was used to offset the loss from theta on the long call? Sure, you can say that, but it doesn't make it a hedge any more than calling it a flux capacitor. Can you say the option's value is hedged and not time? Yes, it can be called an offset of value, but saying the cash hedged time is wrong. To truly hedge time would mean the passage of time doesn't reduce the value of the option. It would imply that the long option doesn't age. But that can't happen since time passes with certainty. So hedging time is a misuse of the word. Saying you can hedge time is like saying you hedged gravity. You didn't hedge it, you just jumped off a shorter building. Hedging eliminates or reduces a risk. Financing pays for a risk. Calendar spreads do the second. Well, who cares if it's just a matter of semantics? The cash from the short call offset the loss on the long call, and that's all that matters. The problem is that it creates dangerous references for future decisions. The cash is a cushion, and cushions don't repeal gravity. They just sound safer and encourage riskier jumps. If we allow hedging time to mean offsetting some time decay with cash, then lots of things qualify. You could say mowing lawns hedges a long call. You could say selling calls hedges your car payment. Selling advertising space on eBay through a temporary tattoo on your forehead would also be a hedge. Oddly enough, it's been done. The financial idea of a hedge loses meaning. And no, it's not mere semantics, because confusing the two leads directly to false beliefs about risk. You didn't hedge time. You hedged shorter-term value erosion with another short-term contract. Time still passed for both positions, so it still moved. The only way to truly hedge theta of a specific option is to short another that shares the same clock. The only way that can happen is to sell the same contract. In other words, close it or never buy it in the first place. If you don't want time to pass, extrinsic value to decay, or uncertainty to collapse against you, then you don't want the contract whose entire purpose is to expose you to those things. Anything short of exiting the position leaves the clock running at the same rate, and selling other options doesn't stop that. Theta is simply the hotel bill. It makes no sense to enjoy the ocean view all week and then act betrayed at checkout. Options get value from time. Suppose a trader claims to have found a strategy that reliably earns time decay without meaningful risk. If that were true, the logical next step would be to borrow as much money as possible, scale the strategy indefinitely, and lock in risk-free profits. Option prices would explode. We don't see that. So the only zero theta hedge of a long call is not holding it. Hedging time requires science fiction. You'd have to freeze it. But if time doesn't pass, prices can't move. Volatility requires time. If time were frozen, options would be worthless. We don't see that either. Option value exists because time passes. The conclusion is simple. Theta isn't the enemy. It's not decay in the sense of rot or waste. It's the receipt. It's the taximeter. It's the hotel bill. You can't hedge time, but instead only choose how much of it to buy. Theta is simply the continuous billing of these costs over time. Rolling options out to reduce theta. The absurdity becomes obvious in rolling strategies to hedge time decay. Traders often close an existing call within the last 30 days or so and buy a longer dated one with the same strike, which is called a roll out. But rolling out means selling consumed time and buying fresh time. For instance, they may sell a 30-day $100 call and buy a 120-day $100 call. But wait, that's a calendar spread. Once you understand that rolling an option out is simply buying a calendar spread, we're right back at the beginning. If a calendar spread doesn't hedge time, rolling a call out early can't either. It's like hiring a cab for 20 miles, getting out after 5 miles and selling the remaining portion to someone else, and then hire another cab for 15 miles and say you hedged the ride. It only restarts the meter. The true risk comes from forgetting that time isn't risk. It's the axis the contract is written on, and you can't hedge the axis without destroying the object defined on it. So saying that selling a call creates a cash flow that hedges time isn't a matter of semantics. The biggest risk is when traders believe they can hedge time. If they can hedge time, they'll believe they've hedged certainty. If they've hedged certainty, they'll lever. If they lever, losses get hidden. If losses get hidden, risk accumulates silently. And when the stock's path finally matters, they'll find out that certainty wasn't hedged at all. They just prepaid the premium and called it protection. The hedge against time was actually the most expensive thing they bought. Next week, we'll continue with this same theme. Do options decay over time? It sounds like an obvious question, but the answer may surprise you. Find out why time decay isn't the process you think it is.